Hello, fifth graders. I want to go over with you your assignment today. I'm going to warn you that this is a long video, so you're going to want to pause it when I say pause, but you could also pause it anytime you feel like you need to get caught up with what I'm saying. So it's meant for you to pause it and go at your own pace. And I'll kind of describe what that's going to look like and what that's going to mean as we get going. But today we're going to read the story Mr. Peabody's Apples. And you are going to be you're going to be completing the role of the predictor. So just like we've been practicing in class lately, we're going to be making predictions and confirming our predictions. So you have an example of what this looks like with second day first impressions. That is on Canvas. We did this in class the last 2 days. So if you were not able to join our class, you can go back and watch those videos or look at the example document. But today we're reading Mr. Peabody's Apples, and we're going to be making a total of 5 different predictions. So the first prediction that you're going to make is on the front cover. So looking at the front cover of the story, we're going to make a prediction about what we think the story might be about. So for this one, I want you to say, I think blah, blah, blah. So looking at this, if you look at the clothes that they're wearing, these definitely are not clothes for 2020. So to me, this looks like it could be a story that takes place back in like maybe the 40s, 50s, kind of older time period. It also looks like maybe it's at like a farm or a small town, just looking at the background. And it's called Mr. Peabody's Apples, so like possibly an apple farm. And then also, for some reason, we have this up here. I don't want to tell you yet what this is, but be thinking about that, maybe make a prediction on that. So when you're the role of the predictor, you use what you have read and the text features to help you figure out what the group will learn and or what will happen in the next piece of text. So for here, our text clues that we're using are the title and the pictures. So I would like you to hit pause and then type your prediction. When you're done, please resume the video. So then now you're going to notice post-its throughout it. Post-its just refer to different parts on that Word document. So I'm going to bounce back and forth. Mr. Peabody's Apples. In the town of Hapville, which wasn't a very big town, Mr. Peabody was congratulating his Little League team on a great game. They had not won, but no one really cared because they had such a good time playing. Mr. Peabody was the history teacher at the local elementary school, and in the summertime, he dedicated every Saturday to organizing baseball games with the other schools. Billy Little, who wasn't a very big boy, was one of Mr. Peabody's students. He loved baseball more than anything, and he thought Mr. Peabody was the greatest. After each game, he would always stay to help pick up all the bats and balls. And when they finished, Mr. Peabody would smile and say, "Thanks, Billy. Good job. I'll see you next Saturday." So based off your predictions that you were making, some of you could probably confirm this prediction. So if that's the case, you're going to hit pause. And yes, my prediction was correct because, or no, instead blank happened. If we can't confirm your prediction yet, then we're going to continue reading. Then he would start his walk home along the main street of Hapville, which wasn't a very big street, waving hello to everyone he knew. And everyone would wave hello back. Along the way, he always passed Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market. Here Mr. Peabody would stop and admire Mr. Funkadeli's fresh apples. He would pick out the shiniest apple, drop it in his bag, and continue on his way. Across the street, Tommy Tittlebottom watched with curiosity as Mr. Peabody walked away with the apple. "That's strange," Tommy said to himself. "Mr. Peabody didn't pay anyone for the apple." Tommy got on his skateboard and rushed to tell his friends. Okay, so this is page 10, so we're going to do our second prediction. So prediction number 2, page 10. So we can start out with I predict blah, blah, blah. So again, there's a bunch of sentence starters up here. You can choose any one you want. So if you don't like the one I'm putting, feel free to choose. But Tommy just saw Mr. Peabody pick the shiniest apple from Mr. Funkadeli's fruit stand and put it in his bag. One of the things, if you look at the pictures, we want to use text evidence or text, all the clues, the text clues. So this right here, we can make a guess that maybe this is Mr. Funkadeli. This is Tommy across the street. This could just be anybody who works there. Which, Javon, I don't know if you noticed, but there's a little birdie on his shoulder. I don't think I've ever actually noticed that bird before. Okay, so if you are still doing your prediction, you might want to hit pause and continue your prediction. The following Saturday, Mr. Peabody's team played another game, and they lost as usual with not one, but no one seemed to care because they had had such a good time playing. Billy picked up the balls and bats, and Mr. Peabody set off on his walk home. He waved to everyone he knew, and they waved back. Once again, he stopped outside Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market, picked up the shiniest apple, dropped it in his bag, and continued on his way. Across the street, Tommy Tittlebottom and his friends watched Mr. Peabody, and they were amazed at what they saw. Mr. Peabody had not paid for his apple. They couldn't wait to tell all of their friends, who told their parents, who told their neighbors, who told their friends, and in the town of Hapville, which wasn't a very big town. The Saturday after that, Mr. Peabody was standing all alone on the baseball field, wondering where everybody was. Then he saw Billy walking towards him with a sad look on his face. "Hello, Billy. I'm glad you're here, but where's the rest of the team?" asked Mr. Peabody. Billy remained silent. "What is it, Billy?" Billy did not look up. "Everybody thinks you're a thief," he said to the ground. Mr. Peabody looked confused. He took off his hat and scratched his head. "Who says I'm a thief, Billy?" "What did I steal?" he asked. "Tommy Tittlebottom and his friends said that they saw you take an apple from Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market twice, and they said you didn't pay for them," answered Billy. "Ah," said Mr. Peabody, putting his hat back on his head. "Let's go talk to Mr. Funkadeli about it, shall we?" So we're going to go back to our Word document. Now we're on page 14. So Mr. Peabody just found out that none of the kids are coming to the baseball game, that every week they get together all summer long and they play this game. And nobody's coming to the game because Tommy saw him take apples, told his friends, who told their friends, who told their parents. And now Mr. Peabody and Billy are going to walk to Mr. Funkadeli's stand. So I would like you to pause the video, make a prediction number 3, and then confirm any of your other predictions. When you're done, hit play. So this is Billy looking down to the ground where he says everybody thinks you're a thief. They walked down the main street, which wasn't a very big street, and Mr. Peabody waved to all the people he knew. But now some of them did not wave back. Some pretended they did not even see him. They finally arrived at Mr. Funkadeli's fruit market. Out popped Mr. Funkadeli, who said, "Hey, what are you doing here, Mr. Peabody? Why aren't you at the game?" "There wasn't a game today," said Mr. Peabody. "I was wondering if I could take my apple earlier than usual." "Sure, why not?" replied Mr. Funkadeli. "You pay for them every Saturday morning when you pick up your milk. You can take them when you like. You want the big shiny one, Mr. Peabody?" Mr. Peabody took his apple, smiled, and offered it to Billy. "I would like to take the apple, Mr. Peabody, but I have to go find Tommy and explain everything," said Billy. "When you find him, ask him to come over to my house. I would like to speak to him too," replied Mr. Peabody. Okay, so now we've learned that Mr. Peabody is not stealing the apples. He pays for them every Saturday morning, but he just gets them throughout the week. So Billy just discovered that Tommy told the whole town that Mr. Peabody was a thief when really he's not. So he's going to go tell Billy the truth, but Mr. Peabody would also like to speak to Billy. So I want you to make a prediction for what's going to happen next, and then hit pause while you confirm other predictions, and then play when you're ready. A little while later, Billy found Tommy and told him what had happened with the apples. He told Tommy that Mr. Peabody wanted to speak to him right away. So off Tommy ran. When he arrived, he rang the doorbell, and Mr. Peabody came to the door. They looked at each other for a while. "Oh dear, Mr. Peabody," Tommy said on the doorstep. "I didn't understand. I should not have said what I said, but it looked like you hadn't paid for the apples." Mr. Peabody's eyebrows went up. Let me try to focus this, sorry. Can't really see. Mr. Peabody's eyebrows went up a little, and he felt a warm breeze blow across his face. "It doesn't matter what it looked like. It mattered what is the truth. What matters is the truth." Tommy looked down at his shoes and said, "I'm so sorry. What can I do to make things better now?" Mr. Peabody took a deep breath, looked up at a small cloud that was in the sky, and said, "I'll tell you what, Tommy. Meet me at the baseball diamond in 1 hour and bring a pillow stuffed with feathers." "Okay," said Tommy, who then ran off to his house to get a pillow. An hour later, Tommy met Mr. Peabody on the pitcher's mound. "Hello, Tommy," said Mr. Peabody. "Follow me and bring your pillow." Tommy followed Mr. Peabody to the top of the bleachers, wondering what this was all about. "It's a windy day, isn't it?" asked Mr. Peabody when they reached the top. Tommy nodded his head in agreement. "Here's a pair of scissors. Now cut the pillow in half and shake the feathers out." Tommy looked confused, but he did it anyway. He thought it was a small price to pay to gain Mr. Peabody's forgiveness. The wind carried the thousands of feathers far and wide. We're going to go back to our Word document. Now we kind of know more about what was going on in the scene here. That's that pillow being cut out, and those are all the feathers. So I'm wondering, so we can say, like, what was Mr. Peabody's point? So I wonder if Mr. Peabody wanted Tommy to learn blank as a lesson. I wonder if Mr. Peabody is going to make Tommy blink. Pause the video, confirm any other predictions, and finish prediction 5. Hit play when you're ready to find out the ending. Wind carries the thousands of feathers far and wide. So all of these feathers. Tommy looked relieved and said, "Is that all I have to do to make things better?" "There's one more thing," said Mr. Peabody. "Now you must go and pick up all the feathers." Tommy frowned. "I don't think it's possible to pick up all the feathers," Tommy replied. "It would be just as impossible to undo the damage that you have done by spreading the rumor that I am a thief," said Mr. Peabody. "Each feather represents a person in Hatfield." There was a long pause as Tommy began to understand what Mr. Peabody was saying. Finally, he said, "I guess I have a lot of work ahead of me." Mr. Peabody smiled and said, "Indeed you do. Next time, don't be so quick to judge a person, and remember the power of your words." Then he handed Tommy the shiny red apple and made his way home. That's the end of the story. Mr. Peabody didn't necessarily force Tommy to go pick up the feathers, but he did say, like, as you're picking up the feathers, you can interact with different people and correct the story. And the way that it ends, my favorite picture of the whole story, is there's kids playing baseball back in the background, or at least they're playing catch. I don't know if it's baseball because there's a puppy back there. But then there's the pillow that's been stitched back up that looks like it's full. But then there's a couple little feathers that are floating in. So not every feather has been picked up, but based off this image, it does appear that Tommy had picked up quite a few of the feathers. And I'm hopeful that if there's people playing baseball, that this is Mr. Peabody playing baseball with the kids. Mr. Peabody's Apples, one of my favorite stories. Lots of good lessons in there about gossiping and rumors. So you should now have 5 predictions on your document, and hopefully you have gone back, or you are about to, confirm those predictions. If you need to rewatch the video to see the answers, you can do that too. So now you're going to hit File Save one more time because you've already saved it. And then I want you to hit File, Share. If this is your first time sharing with me, it's going to give you an option for OneDrive. So select that. And then I want you to start typing SKITCH until my name pops up. So it should say Stacy Kitchen, and then you're going to hit Send. This will send me your document in my email. You can upload this to Canvas, but I have found that some students, when they upload it to Canvas, the words aren't there. It just gives me a blank document. So if you share it, I will get it. All right, 5th graders, there's going to be another assignment with Mr. Peabody's Apples. So this is your first one. Get this turned in, and I hope you have a wonderful day. See you guys tomorrow.